Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to our Divisional Round Steelers playoff episode. I'm your host, Jim Sella, here with Jay Dash. The Pittsburgh Steelers handled Miami 30-12 in the wild card weekend. All the home teams handled all the away teams in wild card weekend.
Garbage football.
Pretty pathetic week by the NFL as far as providing parity, I guess. But it's good for Steeler fans. We're on to Kansas City. I don't remember the exact number, but I believe Kansas City set the Guinness World Record for loudest stadium in the world about 2 or 3 years back. Ridiculous. This is going to be a tough game for Pittsburgh.
I do remember something like that. Now, Kansas City, they started out the season 2-2. One of those losses versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 43-14 shellacking. And after that, they went on a roll. Right after that Steelers loss, they went 10-2 to end the season. Now, both of their losses in that 10-2 streak were at home, actually. Their only 2 home losses of the season. And they were both 19-17 losses, one versus the Buccaneers and one versus the Titans. But they did go 6-0 in the division, and that is why they ended up with the bye winning that division, because it came down to the Raiders in the end. The Raiders lost Derek Carr. They couldn't finish, while the Kansas City Chiefs won their last 2 games, both division games. They blew out the Broncos and then beat the Chargers by 10 as well to win that division and deservedly get this bye. But the last time these 2 teams played, like I said, it was a blowout. Now, if you look, Le'Veon Bell blew up in that game, had 18 carries for 144 yards. He didn't get into the end zone on the ground, and he had 5 catches for 34 yards as well. Didn't get into the end zone in the air. But guess who came up with the big game in that game in the air for Pittsburgh?
Jesse James.
It was Sammy Coates, man. 6 catches for 79 yards. Now, Antonio Brown did have 2 touchdowns in that game. He had 4 catches for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it was Sammy Coates that led the team in catches and yardage, 6 for 79. Big Ben, 5 touchdowns, no picks in that game.
In Mike Tomlin's 10 years as coach, the Steelers have played 9 teams in a rematch in the postseason. They're 6-3 in those games. They lost to Jacksonville at home in Tomlin's first year, Baltimore again at home in 2014, and Denver last season. It's going to be a tough game against Kansas City this time. What is the biggest thing that the Steelers need to look out for from the Chiefs that they didn't have to look out for in that regular season matchup?
That they didn't have to look out for?
Yes.
Probably I'd have to go see, but I don't think Tyreek Hill did much in that game. And Tyreek Hill
Correct.
is a monster. And this is their best player. Whether Spencer Ware is completely healthy or what, it doesn't matter. Tyreek Hill is the guy you got to look out for. I know Travis Kelce, he led the team. He had over 1,000 yards receiving. Great season for a tight end, obviously, and really there wasn't anybody else even close to 1,000. Nobody even reached 600 yards outside of Travis Kelce. But Tyreek Hill is a playmaker. He has, I think, 3 touchdowns on the ground this season. Let me see real quick. Yeah, 3 touchdowns on the ground. He led the team in receiving touchdowns with 6, and he also has a couple kick return and punt return touchdowns, I believe, 1 or 2 of those as well. Now, you look on the ground, Tyreek Hill averages 11.1 yards per carry. This guy breaks off big plays, and he's the guy you got to look out for. And we know, now they don't use Tyreek Hill as a back much. He only has 24 carries. But if they used him as a passing back in this game, I think he could do some serious damage versus Pittsburgh, because we know they've gotten beat by the running back in the passing game a few times this season.
Justin Houston's back for that Kansas City defense. Spencer Ware will be back for this Kansas City offense. You have Alex Smith, Spencer Ware, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and don't sleep on Jeremy Maclin. Is he still playing? Is he hurt?
No, I believe he's playing. He's healthy now, man.
Okay, yeah. See, now this guy has done nothing this year, really, but this is not his first time in the playoffs. You know, this guy was a big play wide receiver for them as early as last year. So if you could shut down Hill and still get beat deep by Maclin, this Steelers defense playing a lot better, but these defensive backs are young, Andy Reid's a smart coach. He could try to take advantage of their aggressiveness and try to go over the top, although we both know Alex Smith doesn't really throw deep very well.
And that's not all the playmakers they have. Now, to a lesser extent, Chris Conley has had a solid season, 530 yards receiving for him. He didn't find the end zone, though. But we know Albert Wilson from the past as well is a guy that he doesn't see many targets. He doesn't touch the ball too much, but he can break one as well. And if Spencer Ware happened to go down or they didn't want to give him the full load, Charkandrick West can step in and play a decent role as well. Now, you know, Tyreek Hill can do something, as we mentioned. But this team, I mean, they have some depth out there on their offense. Now, they don't have huge stars, I guess. Tyreek Hill may be turning into one. Spencer Ware looked great to start the season, with Jamal Charles never fully making it back healthy and then going back down for the season. Spencer Ware was good. Now, he kind of slowed down there towards the end of the season or whatever. But it's all about this quarterback, Alex Smith. Now, he does a great job of not turning the ball over. Just 8 interceptions again this season. He's probably one of the best in the NFL at not turning the ball over. But he's not that much of a playmaker either. Just 15 touchdowns, 3,500 yards passing on the season. So they do have great depth. It's just not the huge playmakers like Pittsburgh has.
Will the so-called injury from Roethlisberger hurt him in any way in this football game?
Yeah, he's faking it, right? So
according to the internet trolls.
Well, either way, yes, it hurts. Let's say that there is a real injury. Obviously, a real injury always hurts you. Now, Big Ben has come up with some big games being injured, or so-called injured, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, anytime you're injured, it's never a good thing. But let's say he's faking it. Well, that's not a good thing either, because then people will be aiming for your leg and you probably will hurt it.
Believe it. I think they're just stupid idiots on the internet who don't know what they're talking about. Will the Steelers' rushing game be able to take advantage of the poorest Kansas City run defense? They were ranked 26th in defensive rushing yards allowed in the NFL.
I kind of think they got worse as the season went along. I thought they were a little bit better early in the season. I may be wrong on that. But you look, the last time Pittsburgh did play, Le'Veon Bell, 144 yards rushing in that game. And we've seen what Pittsburgh's been doing pretty much all season long when Le'Veon Bell's in there. And that's give him the ball a ton. And I think that's what they're going to do this week as well. Big Ben, he came up with those 5 touchdowns last time around. Marcus Peters didn't have that great of a game. And it really wasn't Antonio Brown that burned him that much. It was also Sammy Coates in that game. So that's one thing he doesn't have to worry about. But Le'Veon Bell, I think he's going to have to come up with another big game, and I think he can.
I know a lot of the other wide receivers didn't really get too involved in the game against Miami, but what do you think of DeMarcus Ayers so far? I think he showed a little more promise again last week.
Yeah, right now I consider him my number 3 wide receiver. A lot of people like Kobe Hamilton as well. There's something I don't know what it is. I just don't think Kobe Hamilton is that guy. He's a great number 4, number 5. I have no problem with that. I just don't think he's any more than that right now. But DeMarcus Ayers looks very good to me. I consider him the number 3 receiver right now.
Do you think he can do what Sammy Coates was able to do to Kansas City?
I think they're 2 different types of receivers. I don't think you can compare the two. I think DeMarcus Ayers has a little bit more of an Eli Rogers, or maybe even you can say an Antonio Brown to a lot lesser extent, obviously. He's more that type of player. I don't think he's the guy that you want to try to get deep and get past the defense too much. I mean, you can give him 1 in the game or something, who knows. But he's more that Eli Rogers type player, and I like that kind of player.
I believe he came in at the combine with somewhere high 4.3 or low 4.4 40 speed.
Yeah, he looks fast out there. And, I mean, you can get past the defense like that. I just like the taller guys, you know what I mean, to be that deep ball threat.
Any chance Sammy Coates has an offensive role in this football game?
Right now, with how the other receivers look to me, I don't think there's any reason to really risk it. It's been a long time since Sammy Coates did anything great for Pittsburgh outside of a couple nice kick returns, and I think that's where I'd leave him.
Is this the toughest matchup of the divisional round weekend, do you think? The best game?
Well, it's definitely not the New England game. I think that Seattle-Atlanta game can turn into a good game.
You don't think Atlanta's going to choke like they always do in the playoffs?
I think Seattle's going to come out with the win.
I can guarantee Seattle a victory. All I have to do is put $1 on Atlanta, and they'll get smoked.
Yeah, please believe that. But Atlanta, I think they're like -4.5. I think that's a pretty big line for that game because really Atlanta's hasn't proven anything in a long time. Who's the other game?
Dallas.
Green Bay and Dallas. I think Green Bay can go out there and beat Dallas as well. You never know what Dallas is going to do in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Those young guys are going to be tough. So your buddy Mark Madden had been saying leading up to the playoffs that out of the trio of Ben, Bell and Brown, and even really Marquise Pouncey a little bit, and some of these young guys on defense, they needed to prove themselves, that they had been me guys and only worried about the team and not winning, and they hadn't performed big in a playoff game yet. Well, pretty much Bell and Brown did it as big as they could, really, and this defense really stepped up. Have they arrived? Did it matter that they hadn't had a lot of playoff experience together?
Well, people say it matters, but the only way to get experience at winning is go out there and win the first game you play in or whatever. Le'Veon Bell, I think that was his first playoff game, right?
Believe it.
I mean, that's not his fault necessarily, so what are you going to do? I think you just go out there and ball.
And that's what he did. Will the Steelers go into this with a different game plan than last week? Or was Roethlisberger maybe hurt earlier in the game than we've been led to believe, and that's why they ran the ball so much? Or will we see Big Ben throw it 35 times?
I think he'll throw it more than 18 times in this game. I think Kansas City's defense will do a little bit better than Miami's defense. They better if they want to win this game. But if Le'Veon Bell's breaking off 8, 9, 10 yards per carry, then there's no reason to pass the ball. Last week, it started to get a little pathetic there in the second half, the way Le'Veon Bell was breaking off chunks every single time he touched the ball. So if that happens in this game, there's no reason to throw Big Ben. I don't think it had to do with Ben being injured too early in that game or anything. There was just really no reason because Big Ben hasn't looked like himself since he went down with that injury earlier in the season. And Le'Veon Bell has proven to be one of the best, if not the best running back in the game. And right now, if he's going to break off that yardage, man, there is no reason to put the ball in the air.
People like to complain about Le'Veon getting too much of a workload. Is that still an issue?
Well, playoff time, it's not. You do what you got to do to win. During the season, it is. I still didn't like it during the season. There was a lot of times where they could have even backed off 3 to 5 carries per game, and they could have still came out with the win. So you want to back off a little bit during the regular season so you have them for the playoffs and in the future. But when you're in the playoffs, if you got to carry the ball 45 times, you do it.
There's a report that Roethlisberger and Le'Veon would not practice on Wednesday just for rest. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I'd rest them all week if you want to.
Got to get some practice in, man. Are you concerned about this Kansas City pass rush, especially with Justin Houston back? And if Roethlisberger is, just say his ankle's even sore. And they'll give him a cortisone shot or something. But you still think about it a little bit. You know what I mean? Until you get in the flow of this game. So if it's anything about Kansas City's defense that really worries me, it's not so much Marcus Peters and their defensive backs. It's Justin Houston and those linebackers. They can really get after a quarterback. And if they can get after Ben a little early in that football game, remember the Baltimore game that, Ben didn't look very good in that game early. He came back and played better late. But if they can get to him early, that worries me. And if Pittsburgh falls behind, that could work to Kansas City's advantage. Obviously, that works to any team's advantage. But just the way the Steelers' offense has played this year on the road, it would scare me a little bit if they jumped out to an early lead.
Yeah, Justin Houston had 4 sacks this season. Tamba Ali had 3.5. The guy that led the team in sacks with 10 is Dee Ford, and that's really the guy you got to look out for. But I don't know, the way this offensive line has played this year, and especially if they get that run game going, it's a lot harder to get at the quarterback if you're breaking off chunks of yardage like Le'Veon Bell has been. And I think they are going to get the run game going. So I think the offensive line will have a good game and keep Big Ben upright. Really, the only time when he went down, I think that's when the injury happened, is late in the game there. Was that when they said the injury happened? When he shouldn't even have been in the game passing?
Yes, somebody said it happened on like the second to last pass play or the last pass play of the game.
Yeah, so really that play was Ben's fault anyway. It wasn't on the offensive line or anything. Big Ben just wanted to make a play when he should have just thrown it away really, and he tried to step up and then roll out a little bit and then make a pass. So that was on him. So the way this offensive line has been playing both in the run game and the passing game, I'm really excited moving forward because the way this defense looks as well, this is a Super Bowl caliber team right now.
All right, well, what questions do you got for me this week?
Let's see here. Well, like you said, Spencer Ware is healthy. They got Tyreek Hill out there. What the Steelers did defensively last week to stop the Miami run game was ridiculous, really. I think 52 yards rushing total, 33 from Jay Ajayi. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs really rely on their run game. They had 1,748 yards rushing this season, 15 rushing touchdowns. They need to get this run game going if they want to win this game. So will the Pittsburgh Steelers be able to do something similar to last week, or are the Kansas City Chiefs run game going to have a better week? Let's say over or under 100 yards total for this run game.
I'm going to say over this week. I think Kansas City just has too many weapons on the ground to be able to shut them down completely. I think for Pittsburgh to win this football game, you'll probably see Kansas City run for somewhere between 100 and 150 yards, but you'll see Alex Smith throw for about 150 to 200 and have a few mistakes here or there.
Yeah, he had 287 yards last time around. They threw the ball 50 times, obviously playing in catch-up mode. But Spencer Ware, 13 carries for 82 yards last time around. They, as a team, though, 87 yards total on the ground. Like I said before, Big Ben had 5 touchdowns, 300 yards passing in that game, no interceptions. Now, we know he's probably not going to have the same type of game this time around, especially how they're running the ball so much. But will he be able to repeat something even similar to that? What will be his touchdown and interception totals?
Last week, I thought Big Ben would get hit from behind and have a fumble. Instead, he threw interceptions, and they were kind of almost costly, I guess. Maybe not the late one, but I think Big Ben can come back and have a similar game. I don't know if he can have the same game. Early in his career, he had a couple big playoff games on the road. I remember him going up into Denver the first time they won the Super Bowl and just destroying Jake Plummer and the Broncos in a playoff matchup. So I think he can have a better game than Alex Smith, but I don't think he'll have quite as big as a game as he did before. Maybe 300 yards passing, but I doubt that he'll have 5 touchdowns. So maybe 3 touchdowns and 1 pick.
3 and 1. All right, last one here. How is Tyreek Hill going to get into the end zone?
Oh, man. You know what scares me?
Punt
returns. Our coverage, it hasn't been atrocious this year, but it hasn't been great either. The Steelers historically struggle against cutback runners, especially our defense. Very aggressive defense. If they come on an end around, give him the ball, and catch us on the opposite side of a blitz, or even on the same side of the blitz, but get around it, I mean, Tyreek Hill can really gash them. So I would say he has a better chance on maybe a punt return or an end around than an actual pass play, especially the way Mike Mitchell's hitting people. He might be better off just running the football and not trying to go out there because Mitchell's just shooting people in the face with a shotgun basically as they go up for the ball. But I think he could definitely hurt us on the ground cutting back.
So a rushing touchdown, punt return touchdown, both.
Oh, I'm going to give him a punt return touchdown.
Punt return. Is it going to make a difference? Is that the difference maker?
Man, it's going to be close. Anytime you get a special teams touchdown in the playoffs, it really helps.
Please believe. All right, more questions. Who's going to be the receiver to come up for the Steelers? Like I said, it was Sammy Coates last time. 6 catches for 79 yards. Antonio Brown, 4 catches for 64 and 2 TDs. No one else did anything, kind of like last week outside of Le'Veon Bell, 5 catches for 34 in that game. But kind of like last week, no one else had more than 2 targets in that Kansas City game. Is there going to be someone else stepping up in this game? Like I mentioned before, Kansas City, where you want to beat them at is in that slot position. Is Eli Rogers going to come up with a good game to Marcus Ayers?
I think Eli Rogers will have somewhere around 4 or 5 catches. Not a lot of yards, but I think maybe 1 or 2 of them could actually be a touchdown. So although he won't have a lot of plays, I think he's going to have very important plays in the game. But I think AB you'll probably see his normal 8 for $120, 8 for 100, somewhere around there.
So he's going to smoke Marcus Peters?
I just feel like for the Steelers to be successful, they really need to keep Bell, Brown, and Ben, as the main focus of their offense, and then let these other guys fill in where needed, not really try to force them into a role that they're not comfortable with.
I think one of those guys are going to get shut down this week, and I think it is going to be Antonio Brown. Not necessarily shut down, but shut down in terms of what Antonio does. I could see a 4-catch, 64 yards again without the 2 touchdowns. But I think Le'Veon Bell's going to have a big game, and I think Big Ben is going to need to look Eli Rogers' way, DeMarcus Hare's way, and maybe even Jesse James' way a little bit in this game more than he did last week. Okay, outside of Tyreek Hill in the passing game, you have Travis Kelce and Jeremy Maclin as your other top 2 options. Is Travis Kelce going to have a bigger game than he did last time around? He only had 5 catches for 23 yards. He did score a touchdown, but I think the touchdown came real late in the game, and it was really a meaningless score. So, yeah, it had to, because they scored 14 points in the 4th quarter. That's all they had in that game. So is Travis Kelce going to be more of a threat in this game for Kansas City than the last time around?
I think so. I don't know if he'll have a lot more catches. Maybe he gets 7 or 8 catches, something like that. But I think the yards will be there more for him. Kansas City going up against Pittsburgh once. I know our defense is not the same as then, and that's the one thing that I think really helps the Steelers in this matchup. Kansas City's team is kind of the same. I don't want to say any team's exactly the same as they were that early in the year, but they haven't changed as much as the Steelers' defense has. We have a lot of new starters compared to that first game. So I think Kelce will still be able to have a big game. I don't think it's going to be huge, but, 5 for what would you say, 23? It's definitely going to be bigger than that. I'd say give him like 5 for 80. And maybe a touchdown. I think he'll probably be their main receiving threat.
So he will lead the team in receiving then?
Yeah, I would say so.
All right, last question. Alex Smith and Nick Foles combined for 32 sacks on the season. Got sacked 32 times. So that's exactly 2 times per game. Over or under 2 for Pittsburgh?
I'm going over, man. This Steelers defense, since that bye week and we came back and had to change, they've led the NFL in sacks. They got after the quarterback again last week. Matt Moore had only been sacked 1 time in his short playing stint, and we got to him a couple times. They're flying around, and these young guys are playing aggressive defense. So I say we get 4, maybe even 5 sacks again.
The last time these 2 teams played, Pittsburgh had 4 sacks in the game. Vince Williams had 1 sack. Cameron Hayward had 3 sacks.
What about Stephon Tuitt? You mentioned Cameron Hayward, and he's out right now. How about how well Tuitt's been playing in Hayward's absence?
Oh, yeah. Tuitt looked great last game, obviously, as well. And you could see a big difference in the run game for sure. At the end of the season there, Baltimore and Cleveland, Pittsburgh could not stop the run at all. Tuitt came back for this playoff game, and this run defense looked so much better. And he helped out with the pass rush a ton in that game as well.
Has he became their best defensive lineman this quickly?
Without Cameron Hayward in, I would say so, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, when Cameron Hayward was in, we were saying he was maybe the best player on this team outside of Big Ben. You know what I mean? So
believe it. I'm happy and excited to see Tuitt step up, since Hayward's been out.
All right.
Balling.
So who is going to come up as your player of the game? Overall, offense and defense.
I'm going to say it's got to be Lev Bell if the Steelers want to win this football game. He's got to lead this team into the promised land to earn the $15 million that he's rapping about.
Well, he averaged 8 yards per carry last time they faced KC. So do that again, and he should be able to earn that contract he wants and get that rap album he wants. And maybe Antonio Brown can do a little R&B hook for him.
Yeah, booming.
All right, so what is your key to victory?
as lame as this is going to sound, just keep playing the way they're playing. Run the football, play smart football, try not to expose Roethlisberger too much. I know he's a great quarterback. I'm not saying limit him. I'm not saying handcuff him. But if, like you keep saying, if Lev Bell's breaking off 7-8 yards, you just let the guy keep doing it. And by that, you keep the defense off the field. They stay fresher. They can play more aggressive. And I really think this formula that they have during this win streak, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Follow the old adage. Just keep on doing it.
Yeah, I said going into that Miami game that both teams are going to want to try to feature the run, and whoever doesn't come out with a good game on the ground is going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. And I think the same thing this week. Both teams are going to want to try to get that run game going, and whoever doesn't make that happen is going to lose this game. But I think my key to victory is going to be kick the ball away from Tyreek Hill. I think he can be the difference maker on that punt return, like you said. I think that would be the difference in the game. If he returned a punt for a touchdown, I think the Steelers would lose. Or if it was a kick return, or he could even break one in the passing game to make the difference. But I think you want to limit his touches, and just the best way to do that is kick the ball away from him. And even if it's on a kickoff and you kick it out of bounds, I'd rather them start at the 40 than have Tyreek Hill have a chance.
Believe that. What's your official prediction?
Well, it's not going to be the same as the last time around. They are not going to blow Kansas City out, I wouldn't think. But I also didn't think they were going to blow Miami out. So who knows what's going to happen. But Kansas City at home is a lot different than Kansas City on the road. Even though they lost 2 games on the road, 2 games at home this season. But like you mentioned before, their home crowd is loud. I think it's going to be tough for Pittsburgh. These two teams are similar. They're a lot better at home than they are on the road. And a lot of people mention that this year. These two teams are the most similar teams when it comes to home and road in the NFL. They are a lot different. They win big at home, and they have a tough time on the road. In Pittsburgh on the road in the playoffs, we said we didn't want to see too many road playoff games. So I don't know, man. I almost think Kansas City is going to win this game. But if they keep the ball away from Tyreek Hill as much as possible, I'm going to pick them to come out with the win in somewhat of a low-scoring game, 21-17.
I think both offenses get it going a little bit early. I think the offense that can keep it going, maybe not necessarily on the scoreboard, but at least just controlling the ball and staying out on the field to wear down the other defense, obviously will be the one to come out on top. I think the Steelers are hot right now. I think Kansas City and them, just like you say, they're very similar in the way they play home and road. I think the playoffs are another story for Pittsburgh, just like primetime games. I think the Steelers will view it like that. I think they step up and they do just enough in this football game. And I think Pittsburgh drives down the field at the end, and on Boswell field goal, the Steelers win the game 26-24.
So a tight game.
Please believe it's going to be a nail-biter all day long. 1 o'clock game, I'm going to have a heart attack by 1:15.
What are the chances Houston comes out with a win?
What are the chances that I become a millionaire by the end of this episode?
So 0. You think there's actually a 0% chance?
I mean, unless Brady goes down, yeah, 0. I think Pittsburgh or Kansas City are the only 2 AFC teams, possibly teams, period, that can stand in New England's way. Brady's as good as he is, especially in the playoffs. Now they have a good defense this year. It's going to be tough to beat them.
I think Pittsburgh could give them a run for the money. I don't know if Kansas City could hold up on the road, man.
Yeah, either way, I think they're the only 2 teams that can get in Tom Brady's way, even though I hate him. But that's it. That's all I got.
Go Pittsburgh.
Please believe, fans, hit us up on Twitter for the show at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on my Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and click and subscribe. Little 360-something subscribers.
Yeah, something like that.
Feeling it.
Down from the 5 million we had.
Hey, that was that episode. Now, this episode we only have 300.